This is episode 10. Not sure what realize that. Yep, if you consume. Because I said so. Yep. Because I said so. Of course. Because I said so. Because I said so. Because I have no idea. Because I not sure realize that. Right. Because I said so. Because I said so. Right, yeah. Because I said so. Visually. Because I said so. Because I said so. Right. Because I was gonna make sure. Because I said so. Right. Because I said so. Because I said so. Right. Because I said so. Yep. If you consume. Right. Because I have no idea. Because I said so. Eventually. Because I said so. Right. Because I was gonna make sure realize that if you consume. Yep. If you consume, Julie. Because I said so. Why? Because I said so. Right. Because I said so, officially. Of course. Because I said so. Yep, if you consume. Right. Because I said so. And I have no idea. Of course. Not sure you realize that. If you consume. Right. If you consume. Of course. Because I said so. Right, yeah. Because I said so. Because I said so, visually. Of course. Because I said so. And I have no idea. Because I said so. Right. You have no idea. Of course. Because I said so. Yep. Okay. Bye. Because I was gonna make sure. No, eh? If you consume. Yep. Okay. If you consume.